Final day of BlizzCon, we're about to crown a new champion, and NA strikes first blood. Feels good, man. Now joining me on the desk, I got some new faces, and we are about to see skill-capped EU go against pen and paper. Two regions right now fighting to move on forward. The winner of this plays against the Gosu crew. So either way, we're having some absolute legends duking it out, and this is just one of the toughest tournaments I think we could ever expect to see. Then after that matchup, the winner of that has to play against Method Black. That is the last stop before the grand final. A lot of great teams left, a lot of great teams already sent home, but let's talk about skill-capped EU versus pen and paper. Vihel, what do you think of this matchup?
I think it's pretty good. I think Pen and Paper is definitely very, very confident in their gameplay. You can see through the games that they've played so far in this tournament. You know, really one of our dark horse teams that, you know, definitely the China region in general is kind of dismissed at its BlizzCon level, but it was great talking to the teams. Everyone saying, man, that Pen and Paper team is really outstanding. But then on the other side of the stage, of course, skill-capped EU, I mean, look at that stacked roster. It's got Looney on it. How many times has he been up on this stage? I've seen him take out so many teams up there.
You know, when you actually look at the straight-up facts, skill-capped EU and Method Orange, when we talked about our predictions as casters, way, way, way ahead of time, those were the two teams between all of us. That was the split. Yep. We either said it was going to be skill-capped EU or Method Orange to take the entire thing. But then we look at the teams that are left, they were the teams that were in the top four. The one that was an outlier for a lot of us was Pen and Paper. We said that they may be that fifth best team.
Yeah, they just might be, and everyone has just complimented this team so well. That Saji versus Looney, you know, they're both seen as the best healers in the game right now, so it'll be interesting to see who will come out on top, and they both play those medically compositions, so I would love to see that come out from both teams.
This is the matchup right here. This is a matchup of healers. That is truly what it is. It is Saji versus Looney, and luckily, we have a pretty competent druid on the desk with us right now. You've played it up on the main stage. What do you think of these two healers?
I mean, I've lost to one of these healers on the main stages of the finals as well.
You'd probably lose to Saji, too, if you got it there right now.
Thank you, yeah, there's a good chance I would. But I mean, I think the really interesting tale here is that we've got a lot of Restoration Chambers in the tournament. North America likes to play their own game. It's always what they've done. China and Europe actually have very similar metas quite often. You see Saji running that Restoration Druid, running the Mistweaver. It's what Looney likes to run as well. You'll notice it on the statistics. And these guys are very similar playstyle healers, very similar playstyle teams, honestly, liking to center around those melee cleave compositions. And that's why it's going to be such a great bout when they do duke it out.
So I had a chance to actually talk to the Gosu crew immediately after they played against Pen and Paper. And obviously everybody's talking about Saji. They talk about his positioning. They talk about what he is able to do, how he's able to impact the entire flow of an arena matchup. But the other thing that they mentioned, Vihel, was the sheer damage that the rest of the team did. They were saying that it felt like they were doing more damage than anyone else.
Oh, it really was. If you rewatch those matches, it's crazy because normally once a CC chain starts on the healer, the team will start playing defensively. You know, they'll have to back off a bit. But when you watch those life bars, they were just getting chunked down over and over and over.
Oh, this is exactly what we wanted to see. Skill-capped EU versus Pen and Paper blind pick the Grand Arena.
We've seen 3 European teams knocked down at this BlizzCon. We don't necessarily want to see a 4th here. Joe and myself, what's happening at this BlizzCon?
Yeah, we have the Pen and Paper picking up that TSG. Already getting Seapai incredibly low, forcing out the Iron Buck and the Tree Form from Looney. He's going to use that Innovate in conjunction with that Tree Form to keep him top. Already we see an explosive opener coming out from Pen and Paper as that Arms TSG, Danny Sinner on that Death Knight, PP Cat on the Arms Warrior, and Saji on that Mistweaver.
Fast-paced, destructive action is what we can expect in a matchup like this. Melees just bashing each other's skulls in here as Blizzo and Seapai are in hot pursuit of Danny Sinner, who's kiting away using that Death Knight mobility. The slows, of course, from the Chains of Ice helping a lot in this melee versus melee matchup. Now we see stun over onto Saji. He's able to break that one. PP Cat going into battle stance here. They taste blood in the water. They're going after Seapai.
Yeah, they forced out the Astral Shift as well. There was a nice disarm coming out from Blizzo to force PP Cat to trinket out of it, to keep up the pressure. The Astral Shift was very good. Looney also used his trinket there as well. He has the Iron Buck. They have decent cooldowns. And I think if Looney keeps up this healing and they deal with the burst, they should be a nice lead kick coming out from PP Cat as well to try and add on to the pressure. It looks like the main kill target right now will be Seapai, whereas Pen and Paper, they're going to gun for Danny Sinner or PB Cat.
I think Saji on the Mistweaver Monk, he can just put out so much healing per second, and his mana's also keeping up with Looney, so that's definitely something that we need to watch for. Pen and Paper with this Mistweaver can also potentially provide a lot of damage, and they're going for it right now. Here comes the way of the Crane. Zeepai no wall, Looney no trinket. If they can land a crowd control here, Saji going for it, maybe going for the kill here.
Yeah, Zeepai kiting away though beautifully. He's just going to get away. They use the grip stun onto Looney, but Zeepai in that Ghost Wolf going to avoid as much damage as possible when he has Blizzo on his side, peeling with those disarms and the jewels, and at the same time PB Cat getting very low right now, using his racial there to get out of a tricky situation. Bash on Asagi, if he could land a clone, could be devastating, but Danny Sinner is all over that, keeping him safe. Nice play from him.
China's #1 against many people's favorites coming into the competition. Pen and Paper against skill-capped EU here, duking it out. Blizzo dropping low. Looney slightly behind on the mana bar, really struggling a little bit to keep up with this unrelenting damage from Pen and Paper. We see now Ring of Peace on the ground, mitigating some of that preemptively on the Fear. Once again, great plays from Saji.
Great plays indeed from Saji, and it appears that Looney isn't playing with that Cyclone, so he's just trying to out-mana and out-heal the pressure coming out from this TSG right now. Full stun onto Looney. They're trying to get aggressive. Storm onto Zeepai. He trinkets out of it. Astral Shift. PB Key dropping low as well. Needs to be very careful. The Fear followed up onto Looney. Zeepai dropping lower and lower. Disarm used onto him. Nice disarm peels coming out from Blizzo. Looney trying to heal. A good pummel though from Danny Sinner. He needs to keep him alive. They use the Iron Bark now as well. And when this Iron Bark fades, Zeepai will be in a lot of trouble.
He could well be. We see the Iron Bark now down. No Astral Shift for Zeepai. He's in a lot of trouble here. China looking to push the advantage. Saji has Way of the Crane rather, active in this situation. Blizzo also dropping low. Looney and Saji, both of them running on fumes here, running out of fuel in the tank to keep their teams alive. Blizzo finds himself caught up in a Stormbolt, does have that trinket available. Zeepai will be the target of choice.
He will be the target. Blizzo has everything. They're pushing him for a sap on the Looney. Zeepai getting lower and lower. He tried to Ring of Pieces him away, but he pops that tree form. He really wants to keep him alive. He has the Innovate now. This is his last line of defense for quite some time. Saji lower a mana right now. Uses the Life Cocoon on the PP Cat. Looks like they're trying to gun down for that Arms Warrior. After that Cocoon, though, they have to deal with the Die by the Sword. They could be able to take him down. There's just so much pressure coming out from both teams. Blizzo trinketing out there, trying to get aggressive in that battle stance. Avatar doing a lot of pressure on the PPK. He tries to disarm him so he can't use the Die by the Sword. They know Saji is out of mana. They're trying to crush him and they force it. They just need to survive and they should be able to take this game.
Zeepai with the Ascendance pop, dealing a lot of damage. Die by the Sword from PP Cat was the last line of defense for Pen and Paper. Saji now no mana remaining, full Fear. And now Skill Cap looking to secure the advantage. Zeepai though needs to be a little bit careful. No Astral Shift for 5 seconds. We can stabilize until that cooldown. They will surely win the game here. Skill Cap TU looking to push it. Now though we see lots of damage coming in from Pen and Paper. Astral Shift forced out. Zeepai struggling, needs to get topped off here. But Saji being so disruptive on the healing from Looney. He's definitely got the better of this healer exchange. But a nice little duke there on the Mind Freeze from Looney means he'll be able to stabilize his team and they should be able to secure the game.
Yeah, he's able to stabilize, but he's completely out of mana as well, and the full Fear as well. It gets tremored out. Blizzo very low on HP. He has to Die by the Sword, but he needs to use it. He uses it now to make sure he doesn't die to those executes, but they need to pick up the pressure right now. Saji has the Way of the Craze soon. No one's really dropping on the side of PP Cat. Zeepai and Blizzo are getting extremely low. The Iron Bar comes up, but it might not be enough. Nice pet interrupt coming out from Danny Sinner. He uses the defensive Sundering, but it's full stun onto Looney. That could be the game. Zeepai's getting lower and lower. Full sap. Surely he goes down, and there it is. Pen and Paper with the TSG take game #1.
Pen and Paper, time and time again, they just have not let go of the reins. And they do it with this composition. See how when we first got to opening week and we saw that Death Knight get locked in, we were absolutely mind blown, and now we're seeing it up here on the main stage, and they may not even be the only team to play.
It's solid. Death Knight has a lot of utility, and we saw him use it a lot. There's a lot of, it isn't the Windwalker DK style where you grip into to AoE stun, but we saw a lot of grips into stuns just on top of it, which puts Looney in a very, very bad position. I will say though, like the Death Knight is impressive, but Saji on that Mistweaver, play after play after play, over and over, he did a great job of pacing out his Chi torpedoes to make sure he was never in a bad situation, went really offensive with and without Way of the Crane, so I'd have to give it to him. Like this map, I think, was totally determined by him.
I really think it comes down to the healers a lot here. Saji was completely out of mana. I was ready to call the game in favor of skill capped EU, but somehow, some way, he keeps his team alive. He's also bringing in caps, stuns, Way of the Crane damage. Meanwhile, Looney's not even playing the Cyclone. This guy not only keeps his team alive fantastically, he's also winning the game for his team.
It's funny just the mirrors between these teams, right? We can dive into the healers a little bit more, and I definitely think that we should, but also let's look at the people who are dealing the damage for these squads. Blizzo and PPCat having very similar classes here and having very similar win rates in Battle for Azeroth as well. Of course, you can see that Looney has gotten, Blizzo has gotten quite a few more games in here as well, but PPCat's very impressive, and I want to take a bigger look. We talk about the parallels, but let's talk about the differences, because the differences, they go further than just the classes, just the specs that are getting locked in. This is something that we've talked about quite a bit. If you're watching right now, you can use that inspect tool and you can actually see all of the gear, all of the talents, the Azerite traits that these players are actually bringing. And VHL throughout the entirety of the tournament, we've been pointing out different builds, and China is one of the regions that is just not playing by anybody's rules.
No, it's, you know, they're very, they don't play the EU-NA meta, which we see constantly. You know, like we said, you know, TSG, we haven't seen that in a tournament in a long time at this point. And for them to bring it out and seem incredibly confident on it, and PPCat definitely is the guy that's really securing that TSG.
Wow.
Very close.
Hey,
it's unbelievable,
good.
right? I mean, there's so many people who are a fan of skill cap throughout the year just because they have their own way of playing the game. You see a lot of rogue mages, jungle cleaves, you see teams like Method Orange going for that kind of very aggressive playstyle. These guys play a slower game, and a lot of people respect that. A lot of people enjoy watching them. So for China to take the fan vote by such a narrow margin, incredible.
I think the thing is, too, is Skill Capped has had a lot of fans throughout the year because they've been so good, right? It's fun to be the front runner every now and then and cheer for one of the most dominant teams. I think that they were the favorite headed into this tournament. So now, seeing people join the side of Pen and Paper shows just how much crazy stuff they've pulled off in this tournament. And we talked about the Warriors. We got a Warrior here as well. Adrian gets to talk about the healer matchup. Joe, it's only fair that you get to talk about PPCat and Blizzo. Blizzo's been the spotlight for a while. You've called him one of the best Warriors in the world. What's it like for PPCat to have to play into him?
I mean, they must be very confident if you're going to play the Arms Warrior against Blizzo. You know you need to play that extremely well, and PPCat is doing exactly that. And I think both of them are playing very similar specs and a very similar playstyle, where when they get aggressive, they use those offensive heroic leaves to get pummels or fears on the enemy healer, keep up the aggression in battle stance, and at the same time, when they're in trouble, they're both peeling excellently with the duel and the disarm coming out, making sure that their partners don't go down whilst they have those utilities available.
Now, Adrian, I have a question for you. When you're on stage and you have all this time available, and you see the map come up after you've just won on the Grand Arena, and you insta-lock that comp, how good does that feel?
It must feel, I mean, back in my day, we always just came with one composition, maybe two. So after a win, obviously, you feel amazing. And I mean, I was talking to Saji, I had a couple of interviews with him. He's ecstatic. He's been here 3 years now, never won a series until this year, now challenging the Gosu crew, beating Skill Capped in this series. This guy is on a high right now. He's so happy, so enthusiastic. And I mean, some of the people backstage think, forget NA final, forget EU NA final. They think that China's going all the way to meet Method Orange, and I'm starting to join them.
It's funny to hear you say that, though, about how you used to lock in comps with having two, because, you know, now that you're kind of on the team, we're working backstage with everyone, I heard you used to be the worst. I heard you used to run the clock all the time.
Oh boy,
ask for
we played that competitive advantage to the max.
I heard you were the worst. Now you're an absolute pleasure on the desk. And now you get to watch two of the best healers in the world go head to head, because that's truly what we have here. Looney throughout the entire year, I think it's Zico who really is kind of the one who was saying, you can't count out Looney before the season even started, before we even started to watch the play this year. And then Saji, people were instantly drawing the line there, but I think Saji's also started to really show a style of his very own. He's been making his own name, and he's been proving it. Do you think that throughout the entirety of this series, regardless of compositions, it's going to be that healer matchup?
I think there's a good chance it could be, and that's actually one thing. I'd like to see Looney take the reins a little bit more. We know he's a fantastic healer defensively, but in that series, Saji was the only person making offensive plays between the two of them. He was the one pushing in for incaps, he was the one pushing in for stuns, and in my opinion, the Mistweaver provides more healing per second, which is one of the reasons they're enabled to do that. I'd perhaps like to say, Looney, swap over to that Mistweaver Monk, prove you're better than Saji, and win this series for your team.
Do you agree with that, Vihel?
I do. I think even though Looney played incredibly well, he played a very passive long game build. We saw he wasn't even playing Cyclone. Cyclone's one of those PvP talents that most people are like, yeah, if you're a Resto Druid, never spec out of it, kind of thing. But he's, when you have a healer of this caliber, he knows he's not going to be the one that's going to be initiating these CC chains or have to bash onto the enemy Mistweaver. So he was playing the Resto Druid really solid, but like you said, Mistweaver, tons of burst healing, lots and lots of viable CC options. So I don't know. It's being comfortable on a healer, like Looney has been playing Resto Druid forever. We've seen him on stage.
Exactly.
So it is a tough call to have to pull away from that.
And now you know where you need to fix your eyes. It's going to be in those top corners of the screen. Look at Looney, look at Saji. These guys are going to make or break this game for their squad. Skill Cap EU versus Pen and Paper, an elimination series. Pen and Paper leads by 1.
They lead by 1 indeed, and they're looking very strong as this Arc Warrior Death Knight composition, the TSG against Looney, and they already make a swap up a go onto Looney, doing the triple stuns into Looney, but they only force out the Barkskin. He's kind of read that like a book, use a tree from as well. Gonna heal it, he's not gonna be caught out right now, but immediately they swap the pressure over onto Zeepai, force out their Astral Shift, and already Pen and Paper have a stellar start.
It's a good start for Pen and Paper, of course. One of the things that we have to bear in mind though is if they Skill Cap's strategy is to play that long game. They're looking for the mana efficiency, so they're more than willing to trade out cooldowns because they have so many defensive cooldowns to rotate through if it means saving the mana. Now they have the Iron Bike, but of course it's a risky strategy because if you get caught without any of those, you can just die early.
Yeah, you can. You need to be very careful defensively in these melee cleave matchups. They're so volatile, and now we see a Grip Stun on Looney. He pre-bears it once again. Absolute god of that bear form when he plays this game, but Zeepai taking some heat as well. He Iron Bucks him, gets kicked. PBCat getting very low though as well, forcing out the Life Cocoon. Pressure piling onto both players right now, and Saji's pushing in, uses the double row to get an in-cap onto Looney. Could follow that with a leg sweep. Zeepai getting very low. He's trying to sit there. Looney trying to pop out the heals. He's still getting so low. They use the rallying cry right now to try and save some cooldown usage. Zeepai's going to try and kite away. An excellent vortex right there from Looney as well, denying the charge from PBK. Yes, heroically, but they still are piling on the pressure right now. Sharpen Blade and Avatar coming out soon. Looney struggling to heal this. Blizzo getting incredibly low as well. This team have an absurd amount of pressure as is TSG.
I can't believe Looney didn't trick it. He might still get punished for it. Zeepai had to run for about 30 seconds there, dealing no damage in that Ghost Wolf, just kiting away for his dear life in this elimination series. PBCat in battle starts once again, looking to push the advantage for China as Zeepai dropping low. Does have that Astral Shift available now though. The rotation of the Iron Buck and the Astral Shift will start to come through here for Skill Cap TU, and with those greedy plays, they've started to build up a mana advantage which will pay out dividends now Way of the Crane is down.
It will pay out, but at the same time they're getting so much pressure during these Way of the Crane goes. They already forced the Astral Shift, and it looks like they're trying to go through it. Full Fear on the Looney. That's going to get tremored out by Zeepai instantly. Stun on the PBK as well. Nice peels coming in from Blizzard. It looks like they're trying to change up their strategy. They're going to punish Saji for pushing in too aggressively, and this could work out for Skill Cap. Just force him to have to kite away, and that gives him no breathing room offensively.
It means he has to heal less efficiently. It means he'll have to spend more of the mana to top up the entire cleave damage from Skill Cap TU. Nice plays, nice adaptations from this European squad, but both of the healers starting to dip lower on mana. That's going to be one of the big things to watch as this game starts to close out. Blizzo, no die by the sword, gets executed, and in game 2, Pen and Paper take it.
Dude, is Pen and Paper just going to sweep right now? This is... Think about how bonkers this is to sit down and see all of a sudden Pen and Paper from a region that hadn't been able to get a single win on the BlizzCon stage in 5 years is going on an absolute tear against the favorite to take the entire tournament. What are they doing so well?
It's the strat changes. You know, they are definitely playing really offensive. It's a great crowd control that's extremely unexpected. We saw a switch up by Honor Talents from the Death Knight. He was playing Heartstop Aura combined with Delirium, so it's a lot of makes your cooldowns tick slower. So everything's coming up a little bit slower. And you know, there you go, Looney on stage.
I can't believe it.
Is speechless. I mean, normally we see him, he's having a great time on stage, you know, laughing, you know, after everything. But you know, when you get shut down like this, it's kind of rough.
Every single time Skill Cap has lost this year, there's been a meta excuse for them. It's been the Outlaw Rogue, it's been Method Orange with the Demon Hunter Moonkin, you've never been able to say that they've been being outplayed. They play these classes. They're the Cleave team, and Pen and Paper is walking all over them in this series. This is something like we've never seen before.
Yeah, I don't think that you can say anything about the meta Super being in Pen and Paper's court, right?
They can mirror them.
Yeah,
Replay plays the Death Knight.
Yeah, sure.
They're just not confident.
That's what's actually so great to see, is them charting their own course, because that's one of the things that even when you hear from players sometimes, whether it is builds, whether it is compositions, they typically don't say that China plays their own meta. They say China is behind in our meta. They say they are still catching up. I think that everybody else needs to catch up to China. China going to lead 2-0. Are they going to be able to take this series 3-0? We'll find out soon. For the first time in 5 years, we see the region of China on an absolute tear, one map away from taking another one against a team that a lot of people favored to take all of BlizzCon. And I want to take a moment here to actually talk about the history of this region. Vihel, you've been here since the very start. Has this region always kind of been the dark horse?
Well, they definitely had a disadvantage in the older tournaments because China used to get expansions actually later than anyone else. The very first World of Warcraft tournament was in Wuhan, China, April 30th, 2007. Think about how long ago that was, right? And then, yeah, it came up on my Facebook feed last year. It's like 10 years ago today, you know, and it was incredible to see. But even though that they had not touched the Burning Crusade at all, they came up with these off-the-wall comps that nobody expected there, and they did a great job compared to, you know, us who had been playing the expansion for, you know, 6+ months and kind of crushed them. But no, but to see them bounce back from that, where they had been historically at such a big disadvantage, onto this stage after everyone has counted them out, I am so incredibly happy they're doing well this tournament.
And it's also great to see the way that they're doing it, right? It's not like they went into War Games and they were like, oh, this comp's good. Do we have one ult that allows us to stay on 2 mains and then figure out this composition? They've actually set up, in a big way, they have set the pace for the entirety of the bracket.
Yeah, Elliot and I were joking about it yesterday. They basically have a number for every team, and every team is hoping that they don't have your number, because every single time they come in with one composition, one game plan, and it either works or it doesn't work. The only time it didn't work so far was against the Gosu crew, and that was probably the closest series we've seen the whole BlizzCon. And you know what? If they win this series, they play against the Gosu crew once again. So if Peekaboo, when I interviewed him last series, was scared based on how close those games were against making a movie, he's watching this series and thinking, oh boy.
I mean, after I talked to them, I keep bringing it up, but they were just, they were awestruck by this team after they managed to get the win. It wasn't an easy one at all. That is not a rematch that you're happy about walking into. I think it is a very exciting one as a fan, though, to see NA versus China. It's not something that we expected to see. Maybe, like, we already have NA in the grand final. We could potentially see China, EU, or North America play against them there. The road is pretty much set. We're trying to determine those top 4 teams. The gates are open. Is Pen and Paper going to be able to close it out here?
It's interesting to see. Skill-capped EU on their last line will bring out the Method Orange composition. It's Blizzo on the Demon Hunter. It's Warwick on the Moonkin Druid. And this could well be the counter matchup, Joe.
It could be, and they're hoping for that, because if they lose this game, Pen and Paper will advance in this tournament, knocking out Skill-capped EU. So it's definitely a game they don't want to lose, and right now they're piling the pressure on a PBK, already forcing the dive by the sword, Life Cocoon, and the Way of the Crane instantly. Skill-capped EU are finally off to a fiery start, and it's with this new composition on the ults of Warwick's on that Moonkin, Blizz on that Demon Hunter. We see Saji though pushing in, getting crouch onto Looney. Warwick's going to sit in that bear form, has the Bark skin active, the Thorns as well, and uses the Renewal. So again, Pen and Paper aren't so well, but it looks like Skill-capped EU need to try and find Solemn in their ults.
I'm really happy to see that Skill-capped EU have tried this composition. I feel like going out of the tournament when they hadn't tried it would have been such a mistake, especially considering it has a strong matchup into all these cleave compositions. We've seen that from Method Orange. I mean, Skill-capped EU were scared to even run Turbo Cleave into Method Orange because of this matchup. It's going to come down to Warwick on that Moonkin Druid. That's the big question. Is he good enough? We see Darkness being forced out. Huge cooldowns from Pen and Paper. They're looking good at the start of the 3rd map.
Pen and Paper are dealing an absurd amount of pressure with this Death Knight composition, catching everyone by surprise. Like Richard put it, instead of being behind of the Mare, seems like they're in front of the Mare right now with this composition, but a root beam with a double stun on the DPS. Skill-capped EU making their offensive goes. Blizz are going to be playing with that Mana Rift as well, trying to Saji very quickly. I expect this game will go very quickly as well, and it looks like it's working out very well for Skill-capped EU. They just need to keep the defensive cooldown rotation really good, which is exactly what they're good at.
They're doing very well, and you can see a full hex now over onto Saji. And I want to draw your attention, those of you who were with us yesterday for when Method Orange played against Skill-capped EU, you'll have remembered one of the big themes was the lively spirit, that innovate big burst coming out of the Moonkins. Warwick wasn't running it, only Samayam was. Now Warwick has actually gone over to those Azurite traits, so he'll be doing huge burst every time he pops his innovate, but they need to survive to it. Skill-capped EU need to be constantly rotating rotating, giving themselves opportunities to set up that burst and set up for the kill.
One thing is that Danny is now swapped back to that Heartstop aura, so Warwick's going to have a reduced cooldown on his Barskin, so it could be harder for him to be able to deal with this pressure, because right now Blizzard and Warwick are about half HP. Looney's going to have that Earthen Wall time very soon though, which should keep them alive. Sargi and Looney's manas are pretty similar though, and considering Blizzard's using that mana rift, that's very impressive on the side of Sargi. But there's that Root Beam on him. He's not playing with that Gnome Racial. They're trying to pressure Danny. He's forced to use that Anti-Magic Shell as well as the Icebound Fortitude. Warwick's in the meanwhile taking pressure and forces the Looney's Earthen Wall shield turret.
Yeah, I actually perhaps would have preferred to have seen Pen and Paper running the Alliance for the Gnome. Of course, the Gnome ratio basically is a free out for every single Root Beam, 1 minute cooldown for 1 minute cooldown. Now we see the stuns coming into Sargi. Like you say, those mana rifts from Blizzo consistently burning away at the mana resource for Sargi, though Warwick is the player in trouble. We see Renewal traded out by him, still holds onto that Barkskin, able to keep through that. Looney also using his Trinket here. Huge cooldowns being forced out by Pen and Paper. But you can see Innovate is available for Warwick. He pops it. He's setting up for huge burst.
Yeah, in 13 seconds there, ladies and gentlemen, you see he's going to have that Incarnation, so huge damage should be able to come out. But Sargi at the same time has all of his defensive arsenals to deal with this. But a full fear on the Looney right now. Warwick is in trouble. He trinkets out of that Stormbolt, uses the Buckskin. There's the Incarnation. There's the burst on the Sargi. He's getting annihilated through the Fortitude through as well. He's just about line of sight. The Link comes down, Life Cocoon as well. So many defensive cooldowns are being forced by Warwick's Incarnation, but he's not out of trouble yet. The Wolf and the Earthen Shield Tome now comes out, and it looks like Skill Cap EU should take this if they just are able to live.
I really like these hexes coming out of Looney, denying the damage from Danny as we see PP Cat dropping low, able to kite away from Blizzo in this situation. A kick over to Sargi though, and Skill Cap EU find life, they find the win, and they're back in this series.
This composition's remarkable to watch as well. I mean, you have seen Walrix with the biggest Thalkiel's consumptions in the past. He has figured out how to make equally large Star Surges here. And you can see just the amount of pressure he was able to get out even while he was under a pretty terrifying onslaught of his very own. So for anyone who's like, how on earth do I make Star Surges as big as Walrix? What exactly is he doing here?
So there's an Azerite trait that is a Restoration Druid Azerite trait, actually. It's when you use Innovate, based on the number of spells that are cast that are made free during that time, at the end of that, you suddenly get this huge burst of Intellect. So you toss it on your Resto Shaman, he casts a whole bunch of spells during it, and then once that Innovate fades, you get your Incarnation going, and then as long as you're set up for that, you have tons of Astral Power, you can just crush people with Star Surges.
And the thing is you kind of can see it happening, right? You need to kind of be ready to play into it, but it gets so much harder in the scenario that these guys are in because they don't have add-ons. They don't have the trackers to actually see all that damage coming in.
Well, actually, and one of the things that Adrian talked about is how the Death Knight switched auras. He's actually running Necrotic Strike, obviously, for the healing absorption, but he's doubling up on the auras. He's running both Heartstop and Decomposing. Decomposing is going to like slowly rot people down, reduce their max health, but the Heartstop aura, if you're watching the cooldowns of the Innervate and the Incarnation, you'll see them jump up and down, and that means that when the Death Knight is nearby, it doesn't matter if, oh, I just hit the button, okay, now I get 20% longer cooldowns. It's anytime you walk near the Death Knight, your cooldowns are ticking slower, like time stopping. And that means the time in between when they go for the Innervate and the Incarnation combo gets dragged out so much larger because they're going to train him full-time anyway. They're going to be in range of that.
Exactly, and the other thing that's interesting about that is we've seen the most successful teams that are running this composition, they are never waiting to line it up perfectly. They're using it on cooldown, and the reason for that is to get that maximum pressure out, to make sure that time and time again, every time that it's off CD, you're going for that big Incarn, backed up by the Innervate trait. You have maximum intellect, you try to press that Star Surge button, become the biggest pumper on the planet, and take somebody down, and you can see just how devastating that can be. But once again, ahead of the meta is going to be Pen and Paper. How can they further try to take this onslaught of damage and mitigate it?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I mean, they're going for the ruins. It looks like they're just trying to fight their aggression through and maybe get a kill on the Warwicks, but I'm not really sure what they can do. It seems like skill capped, instead of just kind of can't beat them, join them syndrome, they just know that the Demon Hunter Moonkin is very powerful into the Medicleave compositions, and if they rotate defensive cooldowns, able to outlive them and kind of use the fact that Saji isn't playing Restoration Shaman. If you're not a Restoration Shaman in the Demon Hunter heavy meta, then you're just going to get mana rifted down, and you're going to be on that time clock for a win condition.
And as Super Tees would say, Ruins of Lordaeron has been locked in by pen and paper. It may well be a fitting final resting place for skill-capped EU in this game, given it is a cemetery, of course. And skill-capped, they're finding the final lease on life here. They've reverted to the meta. This is a team that they always seem to have their own way of thinking about the game. It's actually, I remember talking to Blizzo back at the summer finals, and he was very frustrated by the fact that this team doesn't just swap to the meta. They have the skill, they have the class available, and now they bring it out at literally the last second. If they hadn't won that game, they would have been out of BlizzCon, but now they would need to win 3 on the trot. It's going to be difficult.
It's going to be very hard against pen and paper. The interesting thing, though, with pen and paper, we've already mentioned it, we've never seen them mid-series switch compositions yet. They really do kind of have that answer to each team. They have a clear, you know, I've talked to Sidhu about this a lot. Sidhu always says, we like to have our little notebook that basically says, in these scenarios, this is what we're going to do, so we don't have to panic up on the main stage. We have a pretty good idea of exactly what we want to do, what we think will win, and we can focus on the matchup itself, what we want to do in the matchup, and not worry about compositions as much. We've seen that change over time with a lot of different teams and how they do play, but pen and paper's take on it is, yeah, these guys, they lose to this. Doesn't matter what they try to bring out. Let them counter-comp themselves. We know the answer. This time, though, they're going to let that clock tick down a little bit longer. That clock that has been instated in the rule set because of how Adrian used to run that clock and run to the bathroom. And pen and paper going to be able to use that full 2 minutes here. 40 seconds left. VL, do you expect the same thing?
I hope so. I mean, it was still close. They did a good job. They were doing a great job of shutting down Walrix when they needed to. You know, there was a lot of root beams, like you're saying. Maybe all it needs to be is they switch to Alliance so that Saji can be able to escape artist out of all of those root beam combos. But, you know, I'm really curious what's going through their comms right now and what they're talking through, because this is tough. They had 2 very commanding, dominant maps. Skill Cap switches it up a little bit and throws a very, very meta comp against them. And then that last round, you know, while it was close, but Skill Cap definitely came back. And,
this would be quite the statement. If pen and paper could beat this composition as the Turbo Cleave, that would be a huge surprise for Skill Cap. But, you know, they're obviously picking this composition because they think it should be the Turbo Cleave. So I am so excited for this one.
Skill-capped were too scared to run the Turbo Cleave into Method Orange. Now pen and paper pick it into Skill-capped. If this is a victory for pen and paper, this is the ultimate BM for Skill-capped.
Pen and paper just slapped Skill-capped across the face. This is a statement, to say the very least. And another thing that we do need to know, when we first got all the way to BlizzCon, we talked to the teams. What comps did they think were the best? It was a discussion between these 2 comps. These are the meta compositions, but there isn't much of an answer into the matchup. I feel like that's where a lot of the disagreements are. To see pen and paper run the main composition now of Skill Cap, this is a big statement.
It is a big statement. I mean, a lot of people, including Swapsy himself, he did state that he thinks Demon Hunter Boomy just 100% counters the Turbo Cleave, which is that Arms Warrior, Enhancement Shaman, and Mistweaver Monk. So, and obviously Skill Cap, do you think of it, because they didn't run that into Method Orange yesterday. Yeah. So I feel like this will be the true test, pen and paper, on Ruins of Lordaeron as well. See if the Turbo Cleave can finally take this composition out.
You know how we always talk about Ruins of Lordaeron being the final resting place? You know what happened this expansion? Ruins of Lordaeron got ruined. Should be the Ruins of Lordaeron. We need to rename the map.
Sylvana's been doing some pretty nasty work.
We're heading into the Ruins of Lordaeron. Skill Cap EU only has 1 win in their back pocket. Pen and paper now on the main composition of Skill Cap looks to take this series, looks to eliminate Skill Cap EU, one of the favorites from the tournament, and march forward representing China in the best performance this region has seen in 5 years. Will they be able to do it here? The gates are now open.
Ladies and gentlemen, forget about Super Tease's final resting place. If pen and paper win, Skill Cap's BlizzCon dreams will lay in ruins here. Pen and Paper 1 game away from winning the entirety of the series, eliminating one of the favorites from the competition.
Skillcap EU are trying to keep their tournament lives on the line already. Blizzard dropping extremely low, needing to use his trinket as well as that blur. Has that tank trinket safety net as well, but Saji popped this trinket offensively with that Way of the Crane, trying to just crush him instantaneously. But Skillcap EU are going to survive that one for now. Warwick's now popping that Incarnation, trying to pile on the pressure as well. Way of the Crane going to be dropped now, so Warwick's is looking to deal a lot of damage with this. Nice kick on the Saji as well. A lot of pressure coming out on the PB Cat and No. And it looks like they're going to shut him down for now, and they should be able to survive.
Yeah, this is the Incarnation coming out from Skillcap. We talked about that cooldown countless times. You can see Saji has done a good job of trading for it, although it has come at the expansion of a lot of his mana, down to about 65% or so right now on that blue bar. Looney, meanwhile, on the Restoration Shaman. We expect him to have the lead in that one. Also, Blizzo burning away at that pool. If they can keep burning away, the second Incarnation could be scary. Of course, Skillcap to you, though, need to be careful. And Blizzo falls. Pen and Paper advance in the competition.
Pen and Paper have just rewritten history. We see China making top 4 in the best run this region has had in 5 years. And now the question is, how far will they go? I literally looked, I jumped off the seat when you said that. This is one of the craziest things I think we could have seen. Pen and Paper will play against the Gosu crew, and we know that this is a matchup, that it's a rematch. It has already gone to Game 5 all the way over at opening week, and Joe, it could go either way. We have just seen Skill-Capped EU fall, one of the favorites for the entire tournament. Pen and Paper has taken their name off the list.
They are looking just phenomenal, Richard, and we saw that the Ghost crew think they're in same place, so they're going to be shaking in their boots after their performance right now. And like we saw earlier in this week, they had a very close series and kind of caught them out guard. I'm not sure if they can catch Saji off guard if he plays as good as this.
Oh my goodness. When we talked to the players after War Games, before we even started the tournament, they just kept saying how scary Saji was. And we kind of joked around that every year, yeah, you see a new player, you start wargaming, and they always start to hype different players up. Then we saw Saji play, and we were like, wait, this dude's terrifying. Wait, everybody on his team is terrifying. And now we look at the rest of the road. There aren't many series left until we actually do know our champion of the year, who wins BlizzCon, who the best is, the first champion of Battle for Azeroth. We know all of the teams they would need to beat. First up, it's going to be the Gosu crew. They almost did it already. Method Black, that's a very tough matchup for them, and then it would be Method Orange. This is a road that they could handle.
I mean, they could do it. Every single time they make one step closer, you start to believe a little bit more. And I mean, a lot of the competitors really do believe that Pen and Paper are a top team here. They're a team that can break into that top 4 from Europe, from North America. And I mean, now, if they could beat the Gosu crew, which was so close last time, Method Black will be terrified based on that series. Method Orange would be the last boss we've been talking about. It's a very achievable road.
Well, think about what Pen and Paper has already done in this tournament. I mean, they kick it off with an upset, which completely shakes up the bracket. Now, even in the lower portion of the bracket, they're taking out team after team. They just took out one of the potential favorites. You know, in a lot of ways, if I am Method Orange watching, it's just like, hey, Pen and Paper, oh, I want to give you a big, big hug. Let's actually, though, talk about this guy, the boogeyman of the tournament, Saji. He's on the main stage right now. Let's hear what he has to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined with Saji from Pen and Paper after a beautiful performance. I have one question for you. What does it mean for you and your team to be representing China in this tournament?
现在这个胜利状况，现在已经进4强了嘛？那对于你和你的队伍来说意味着什么？
我从来没想过自己可以进4强，本来一开始只是想赢一场比赛，没想到能走到今天。
So when we came to BlizzCon 2018, we just want to win a match. So so we did that. So
Yeah, you've done more than win just a match. Beautiful performance from your team. You guys seem very prepared for every single team in this tournament. What has your practice schedule been like?
你们平时训练的状况是怎么样的？特别是轻松的呢，还是说每天练得很勤奋？这样？
气氛的话还是很轻松的，不过练的时间也是比较长的。
We practice all day, but easy, right?
All right, all-day practice, that's what it takes. Lastly, your next match is going to be up against the Gosu crew. They beat you earlier on in the tournament. Do you have any words for them going into the next series?
那你们下一场要遇到高速 crew 了。那之前你们败给他了，在小组赛中们。那现在你想对他们说什么？
是复仇的时候了。
We come back for revenge.
Short but sweet revenge they are looking for. Thank you very much for joining us. Back to you, Rich.
Just wanted to win one match. Now they are in the top 4 teams in the entire world, and they are out for blood. They are ready for revenge, going up against the Gosu crew, one of the other favorites, and it was just so close. It came down to a few moments in that Game 5, folks. They may be able to make the dream run right here. I am blown away, Healingstad.
Are we hearing crowds cheering in America for trash talk of the Gosu crew? Is that what's happening right now?
I have a theory. I have a theory that people like trash talk regardless of what region it's from. Vihal, I am just in awe. I think this is one of the craziest things I've seen at a BlizzCon
Absolutely.
so far.
No, I will say, when we saw them lock in the turbo, you know, like we said, okay, yeah, they're going to run their main comp against them. But with everyone, especially SkillCap, saying that, no, never ever run turbo into Demon Hunter Moonkin. But the interesting thing was the enhancement shaman talent and setup. He wasn't running the triple Storm Strike. He wasn't expecting the long game. He wasn't running Earth and Spike, things that you expect, okay, this game is going to last a while. I'm just going to be, you know, off healer, you know, constant damage into the target. He was running Shamanism, which means he can Bloodlust. He was running Ascendance. He was running Grounding Totem to counter the Moonkin. It's just an incredible difference in the way that they play Turbo, and you saw how fast they were killing people.
They have really just shaken up the bracket in the biggest way ever. When we take a look at it right now, I think you're going to see some pretty exciting matchups, folks. I don't know, but I am pretty excited to see the Gosu crew go head-to-head with Pen and Paper. The winner of that then goes up against Method Black, and then the final boss, Sea-Doo, waiting with Method Orange, one of the scariest teams in the tournament, just waiting, watching these matches play out. And I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Who do you think makes it to the grand final now out of our 3 teams that are still eligible? The Gosu crew, Pen and Paper, and Method Black. Vihal, we're going to start with you. Who do you think is going to make it to the grand final?
Oh, this one's tough. Actually, after that last series and the series before, I'm going to have to give it to the Gosu crew, man. I think that they have it.
I think the Gosu crew could definitely make that run. And we want to know in chat right now if you agree. You can vote right now. Hashtag TGC for the Gosu crew. Hashtag PAP for Pen and Paper, the next matchup that we will witness. Joe, who do you think is going to be able to take it?
I actually have to give it to Pen and Paper. I just think they're playing absurd. They 3-0'd SkillCap EU and just look phenomenal with all those many cleaves. I think they can just take this.
All right, we're tied up on the desk, which means Healingstad, you decide. Who do you think is going to take it? Who are the analysts going to be predicting?
Who makes it to the finals or who wins the series?
Who makes it to the finals?
I'm going to keep it at a tie. I'm going Method Black. I think they can still do this. If Pen and Paper wins, I think they'll have a stronger Moonkin Demon Hunter composition. If Gosu Crew wins, it's going to be incredibly close. When Method Black beat them last time, I want to see that Method v Method final.
TLDR, we have no idea who's going to the grand finals. Anybody could be able to challenge Method Orange here. We have our top 4 teams, and they are going to be decided today who the #1 team in the world is. We have China, North America, and EU all still represented. Pen and Paper has already taken out one of the top dogs. How far will they go? It's going to be them versus the Gosu crew when we return.